I think this could be like a little bit for Yankee fans, like booing Altuve, where they might just be sitting there and regretting it. Uh, but if I were trying to broker peace in our times, I would say that I think this turned out right for New York baseball.
Hello and welcome to the Pinstripe Post. My name is Ryan Sampson, but he's the star of the show, Joel Sherman. Today is Thursday, May 15th, a bonus episode of Pinstripe Post this week, Joel. We got Subway Series action. 3-game set between the best team in the NL East versus the best team in the AL East, the Yankees and the Mets. Fans around New York, I think, are excited, but also fans in baseball should be excited for this series. It's two very good baseball teams. It's been lining up, Joel. A lot of people circling just because of the Juan Soto factor. We'll get into that. We'll get into where these two teams stand, and we'll preview this matchup for this weekend. Before we get to any of that, I gotta ask you as always, Joel, how you doing, man?
Well, I wonder, is the Subway Series, which should be great, two first place teams playing well, is it detracted at all because the Knicks are playing a game 6 at the Garden on Friday night, and if necessary, a game 7 in Boston Sunday night, and it's a Sunday night ESPN baseball game. And so this weekend, which I think would just be carried by two good teams with the obvious Soto storyline, I wonder if even people who are going to show up at the games on Friday and potentially Sunday are going to have like one eye on this game and one eye on that game. You know, I wish that they were at different times. Like, I wish that like it was a Saturday night Nick game, and then you just have the great day. Like there was the Larry Johnson 4-point play back in the day, I think was the same day as the Subway Series game, for example. And I think, don't hold me to this, maybe even the same day as like the Belmont Stakes. And it was just this incredible New York day. And as a New Yorker, I love the idea of the great New York day. And so I just wish that it worked out that the fans of, you know, I'm assuming if you're a Yankee or Met fan, there's a pretty good chance you're also a Knick fan. I guess maybe there's some Net fans around. And I would love the New York day as opposed to them both stepping on each other.
What a memory by you, Joel. June 5th, 1999, not only the Larry Johnson 4-point play, the Yankees and Mets played. Both had decent records at the time. Yankees 31-21, and the Mets were 37-27 at that 27-37 at that time. The Yankees won that game 6-3. Were you at attendance at Yankee Stadium for this one?
Sure. Yes.
Sure. Okay, so let's. This is also fun, fans.
Was it the same day as the Belmont too?
Let me search. 1999 Belmont Stakes date. June 5th, 1999. All right, let's play. Go ahead.
It's just this unbelievable day.
It's an unbelievable day.
Think about it, and I hate to say this without like doing any research. I want to say that no, I'm not. I'm going to be wrong about it. I thought somebody from our staff tried to cover all three.
Oh, that would have been quite the day for them.
But I don't think they did, so I don't want to say it.
You'd have to get a helicopter from one spot to the other. There's no way you're getting to all those events.
But think about that day in New York, right? The Garden, a baseball game, and the Belmont Stakes. I mean, really.
Listen, if the Knicks could have handled business last night, it probably would have been a lot more, like you said, all the fans in tune with these games. I still think the diehard baseball fans are going to be in love with this series. There's going to be a lot of trash talking back and forth. Granted, both teams are really, really good, and you have that Juan Soto factor. Real quick trivia here for 1999, that Yankees-Mets baseball game. Can you tell me who the starting pitcher for the Mets was that day?
I mean, Bobby Jones was on the team, but it's not going to be Bobby Jones. You're picking somebody who's going to be different. I feel like something happened in that game also of significance, but if the Yankees won just 6-3 at a time where they were really good, I'm not. Well, though the Mets went to the NLCS that year. That was a lighter Hampton Bobby Jones team, wasn't it? 99.
It was. None of those guys started that game.
Oh, was it? Who was it?
Masato Yoshi.
Oh.
It's funny looking back at those times when you see those things, man. But listen, Joel, I like you said, I still think it's a great weekend for New York sports. Fans are going to be in love with this. I'm going to be there Friday night. You're going to be there for all three. Let's start off though, and I think for first pitch, it has to be the Juan Soto factor. I know you probably I've talked at length about this, but it's going to be a continuous question for you. And looking at it from us for this Pinstripe Post show, it's different, right? This is something that's unique in the fact that we've never seen a player of this stature who only played here for 1 year have such a big impact, go to the World Series with them, and then leave and turn down the big contract for an even bigger contract for the crosstown rival, the New York Mets. And it's for the first time in Yankees history, you could say, in free agency, someone's turned down the Yankees when they got the big dollar. What are you looking at in terms of the return of Juan Soto and the reception he's going to get, and just how it plays into this entire narrative that's being built right now?
Yeah, Ryan, I'm not here to try to broker peace in our times because I recognize that Juan Soto is going to be booed every time he's announced, every time he bats, and every time he goes to play right field in front of the bleacher creatures for 3 games in the Bronx. And I'm sure he knows that as well and is bracing for it. And if I and I would say, like, look, he hasn't gotten off great. He still has about a 143 OPS plus, which every mortal not named Otani or Judge would take, I'm sure. But this is a guy who generally doesn't seem to be bothered by pressure and actually seems to rise to it. If you remember how great he was in the postseason last year, how great he was in the postseason in 2019 when the Nationals won. So, like, I think this could be like a little bit for Yankee fans, like booing Altuve, where they might just be sitting there and regretting it. Uh, but if I were trying to broker peace in our times, I would say that I think this turned out right for New York baseball. That Soto went to a place where the ownership has the financial willingness to navigate around his salary and do what's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He went to a place where literally in the middle of February, Steve Cohen was willing to add $63 million to his costs this year. $30 million for Alonso, $33 million in tax on Alonso. That is the only owner in the sport who I believe would have done that on that day. Thrown away the idea of this is our team, this is our payroll, and done that. Clearly, Hal Steinbrenner was not going to do that. And if the Yankees signed Juan Soto, they would not have signed Max Fried. And I think at least at this moment, you would say that the 2025 Yankees would be worse with Soto, but without Fried, because of what happened is they lost Cole. And while the Yankees probably would have scored a ton, they're leading the major leagues in scoring without Soto. What they wouldn't have been able to do is survive, because the other thing that would have happened around Soto and a $50 million-ish a year salary is how then would have only allocated the ability to go cheap in other places. So I'm not sure they end up with Bellinger and or Goldschmidt, for example. Like what other, because they probably would have had to find another starting pitcher. So like I think Bellinger at 25 million is out for sure. Do they even have to go cheaper at first base than 12.5 million for Goldschmidt? So I think that as long as what's happened this year continues to happen, and that's a big if, that is Rice, Volpe, Dominguez, and Wells have taken a step forward and are a little better offensively. I think we kept giving numbers that I thought those guys need to have. They have a combined 795 OPS. Those 4 players.
I think you were asking for 750 at the beginning of the season or something
I think it was like 720. Even.
Yeah.
I was just like, so, and they have 28 homers. So if that happens, Trent Grisham has hit better than Juan Soto to this point. That's not going to continue. So, like how long it continues. So the Yankees have compensated offensively for not having Soto. What they could never have compensated for while having Soto is losing the amount of starting pitching they've lost, which is not just Cole for the whole season, but Luis Gil for the first 4 months, Stroman / Schmidt for the period that they've lost those 2 guys or had lost those 2 guys. And so, again, I understand Yankee fans like not wanting to lose the guy, and then losing it to the guy on the other side of the tri-borough is even worse.
Mm-hmm.
But the Yankees are okay because this owner was only going to allow certain things at about 310 million. And Steve Cohen was under 310 million and went to 330 million, and then another 33 in tax to get Pete Alonso. And by the way, the Mets would be in some level of difficulty if they hadn't done Alonso,
Without
right?
a doubt.
Like as Soto has kind of eased into this season, Alonso was hit like Soto. So I actually think it worked out for this year and the next 15. And it's the strange thing about Soto, which is every team that gets him is happy to get him, but every team that's lost him has actually ended up okay. The Nationals, 3 leaders in WAR this year, came in the trade for Soto, and it looks like James Wood's going to be a star, and they still have 2 prospects in the minors, especially Jarlin Susana, who they think is going to be a good player. The Padres weren't able to keep him, trade him to the Yankees. Their ace, Michael King, comes from that trade. Drew Thorpe turned into Dylan Cease.
Yep.
Randy Vasquez is pitching well in the number 5 spot, at least competently, to help them survive without Yu Darvish, and Kyle Higashioka helped them last year at a time where the Padres played better against the Dodgers in the postseason than any other team last year, including the Yankees, and losing the World Series. So it's like the best thing that can happen to you is you get Juan Soto. The second best thing that could happen is you lose Juan Soto. So it's a strange thing because teams have done well. The Yankees, using the non-Soto money, have done well. That's not a strict trade. It's a trade of money. And I think that they've done well in what they did with the money, especially Fried, who you could argue would be the AL Cy Young winner a quarter of the way through the season.
Oh, without a doubt, Joel. I mean, Max Fried has been absolutely incredible. Another strong start this week. He is a guy that, like we've talked about, give him the ball every 5th day, and he's going to help you win a baseball game. And he pitches so well, even if it's not going great stuff wise. You could tell the frustration on him against the Mariners, but he battled and he got through, and still gave him a chance to win that ball game. The offense obviously was a letdown that night, but I think it's a very rational take than the way you're looking at this with the Juan Soto part, when the fact that both teams are better off in the fact that Yankees, lost him in the free agency bid, the Mets bring him on.
It just fits better.
Yeah.
It just, like he's with the, if you're going to have Soto costs $51 million towards the tax every year. Like when you're starting your payroll, he's 51 million, Lindor is 30. Like you start with that number, 51. Like, obviously there's only a few teams that would even think about doing that. And then even among those teams, how many would say, but I'm still going to have a real payroll limit? Steve Cohen is not going to have a payroll limit. Like, he's going to do what is necessary to create a great franchise. Like it's another sign. Like the most interesting thing in this is it's another sign that he, as opposed to when the Wilpons were here, and they just accepted their fate that the Yankees will always outbid us. We're the little brother. Like, Steve Cohen ain't playing that game. He ain't anybody's little brother. And he's going for it. And now it's a real slugfest at the top of in New York, and at the top of the sport, because the Dodgers are doing it also. And so the Yankees ran all by themselves for years. Like, if they wanted it, they got it. That's not true anymore.
No.
And I would argue that it worked out for them in this situation. And that's not like, people will take that as, wow, you think so? No, Soto's like one of the 5 greatest hitters I've ever seen. He's in his prime. Whatever his start is, I expect him to hit 35 homers and have a 900 plus OPS this year. He's great. And I expect him, he's been bad in the clutch so far. I expect him to be great in the clutch. He's Juan Soto. But like if the choice is Soto and very little else, or not Soto and Fried, Goldschmidt, Bellinger, etc., with some maneuverability and not the 15 years of concern for this franchise. Like Soto is going to go bad at some point, probably during 15 years.
Correct.
Steve Cohen's going to be able to handle that better than any other ownership group. Like, he can handle the back end of this because it's just a 51 million blah to him.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and so Soto's great. The Yankee lineup, which has been the best in the sport so far this year, would be even better, I assume, with him. But their overall team would be worse.
Yeah, I think it's good that you said that. The overall team, it's different from because, like you said, the lineup still probably would have been relatively similar if you'd take away Bellinger and Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt's been incredible. Another huge home run yesterday. But Bellinger, you haven't gotten offensively what you had hoped for, right? Yet. But
And it's Judge back in center field.
it's Judge back in center field, Soto and right.
For how long? Which I think, like, again, can I prove that being in right field helps him? I think it's got to help him. Just less wear and tear on his body, and that's really your guy. Plus, it's gotten Grisham in the lineup, and who knows how long until this turns into a pumpkin. But for 45 games,
Ride it out.
He's been an all-star level player, and so I. Here's the thing: they're averaging 5.8 runs. The value, let's say Soto came and they were averaging 6.2. Their team ERA would be so much worse.
Yeah.
Their team defense would be so much worse.
Yeah.
Doing it this way. And that's not like you clearly could win with Soto. They got to the World Series with him. But this team without Cole and Hill would have been in extreme trouble with Soto and no significant additions to the pitching, unless the significant additions to the pitching were going to be like, oh, on the cheap, we'll do Griffin Canning and Clay Holmes. And it turns out those guys are as good for the Yankees as the Mets, and they couldn't have done Holmes. Holmes' sign was way down the line with the Mets by the time, like, the Yankees were ready to pivot out of Soto. So.
Yeah. No, listen, Joel. I think like you said, it's a rational take. It's a good.
But you want to boost Soto.
No, so that's the part I want to go to here a little bit. Yeah. So you've covered this team for a long time. I know you've been around a lot of different players being welcomed different ways in New York. Give me a prediction. How bad is it going to be for him in the Bronx tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think it's going to be bad because I think when you have mob mentality, it's bad in every way. And the booing's going to start and people are going to look left and right who weren't going to boo and they're going to be like, yeah, well, I'm going to get into it. And it's almost like sometimes I think we live down to our worst reputations. Like we're supposed to be assholes, so we're going to be assholes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like, what's the counter to that? Like, the guy came in, he was traded here. He didn't have a choice, right? He came here, he played great, got the team to the World Series for the first time since 2009, and then used the right that is part of a collectively bargained agreement to go where he wanted to go. I don't know. Can you cheer him?
No.
Like, right. But he didn't do anything wrong to the Yankees.
No.
Like, he got traded here and played great. He almost won the freaking MVP. If the guy next to him wasn't like the best player of the last 25 years, he would have won the MVP maybe last year. And so, I don't know. And then he earned the right. He had turned down, like, think about, like, the risk he had taken along the way. He turned down $440 million from the Nationals. And people are like, what? And then, like, the Padres at least explored it and said, hey, what would it take? And it became clear he was going to go to free agency, which is why they traded him. So, like, I'm assuming the Padres would have gone over 440, understanding what the floor was. He turned that down. He took a lot of risk along the way. He played great. He had earned the right to become a free agent. And then he signed where he wanted to. And, like, I don't know that did he owe anything to the Yankees? Like, the Yankees, no. Like, he got traded there. It would be like if, like, you were traded to a media institution in Kansas City on the last year of your contract. Would you stay in Kansas City, or would you say, well, even if you were happy and it was great there, you might be like, well, I don't know, who's going to give me the most money?
Mm-hmm. That's the key right there. Who's going to give me the most money? I know you said it's where he wanted to go, but I think still for Yankees fans, and you could, however the story wants to be covered, it is. We view it as he took the most money. He took the most money, and that was it. He was going no matter what, anywhere. They gave him the most money.
Players that way for years. Like,
no, I know.
It just happened the other way. And I will say this. Whatever it was, I'm not here to tell you that the money wasn't factor A, B, and C.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't, I don't think it could be the only factor. The Yankees offered $760 million for 16 years. Like, in other words, there was more money there than I think even in his greatest dreams, Scott Boras and Soto thought would be there. I think it would be a fair question. You're a Yankee fan. But if you were able to kind of take that out and say, you know what? Who do I think will be the best place to play for the next 15 years of my life? I think it would be fair to say the Yankees, because the Yankees have been really good for over 3 decades. They're the most historic franchise, whatever. But I will do it as as no better than the co-star to Aaron Judge for a while in my prime. Or I could go to the place with an owner who is, I know, will spare no expense at a time where they finally figured out the front office by bringing in David Stearns. Like I think that it would be possible to sit there in Juan Soto's shoes and say, if I gotta be someplace for the next 15 years, I actually think the Mets are the better bet for 15 years. Now, will that turn out to be true? I don't know. The Yankees have been a brilliant organization for 3.5 decades. And they are the first team you'd mention in the history of baseball. If you were writing a story and said the first words have to be a team, it would be the New York Yankees. And they're known across the world, though the Dodgers clearly are making inroads in Asia in a way like no one else. Like you can't bet wrong going with the Yankees. But if you were simply saying where is the better place to play for the next 15 years, for the first time, kind of like at least since the 80s, you were able to say, I think the Mets are the right answer to this question.
Yeah, it's I think it's an interesting point from you, and I'm sure that's how he was looking at it. Like you said, making that bet on the Mets organization for the next 15 years. Um, and when you take the overall perspective, obviously the Yankees are a much more successful franchise, but he's betting on the Mets' new front office, the owner being as willing as spending as he is, and he's banking on that future, and that's fine. But I think you hit on the real key point, and that's where I want to turn this a little bit now. The Aaron Judge factor. The guy's having an even better year than last year, Joel. And part of me wonders if there's some part of Aaron Judge who we all know got 360 million, right? Over 9 years, 40 million a year. Soto blew that contract out of the water. Obviously, he was 5 years younger than him at the time, and he was coming off an incredible year just like Judge was, but he made way more money. I just wonder if Aaron Judge, there's some part of him that is trying to say, don't forget about me. I'm still the best hitter in baseball right now, and I'm going to prove it every single day this year why we don't need Juan Soto and we can forget about him, and now we're going to move on to be a better team now.
So I think Judge shares something with the previous captain of the Yankees, which is, if you know Derek Jeter, and I believe he admits this in his documentary, Jeter was a guy, he was a I told you so guy. He kept score. Now, he might not have had a public scoreboard, but he was keeping score of all the people who said, you can't do this, or this guy's better, or you, like, he was very much, screw you. You live your life. I'm going for all my stuff. And I think that Judge keeps score on which members of the media say he can't, which people in the industry say no, what's possible, etc. And certainly, if I'm right about that, then reproving that he's the alpha without Soto around certainly has a benefit to him. And I said this, I believe, on the podcast with John Heyman earlier this week. We did two this week. The one earlier this week, I said, Judge won the MVP last year and ended up across the board with like superior numbers. But if you gave me an at bat, I would still say that I'd take Soto, because lefty or righty, big spot, small spot, I just thought he was the better at bat. Like, I just thought he wouldn't, like, again, as we saw in the postseason where Judge melted some more and Soto rose, that Soto's had smaller holes, more adaptable to any situation, could hit anyone. I don't know that I believe that anymore. Like, Judge's at bats are it just feels like there's what the pitcher is just in trouble. To the point where he was in a situation we're talking the day after they won the rubber game against Seattle, and he hits the homer in the eighth inning to win the game. There's no one on base. It's a tie game. You don't traditionally walk that player. I'm like, and I get it. Other guys in the Yankee lineup are hitting well, but do you have to? Does he have to get the full Bonds treatment at this point, where you just say, you know, I might increase my historic odds of losing the game if I walk him, but I'm not playing history. I'm playing this freaking guy who is just a monster and is having at bat after at bat. And so, to me, I think about that, and it's really going to leave the last loophole, which is, can he carry it into a postseason and carry the Yankees to a championship? It's what's missing from his legacy, as he is soaring up every rank, including historic Yankee ranks. But there's a steel ceiling he can't get above if he's not going to thrive in the postseason, and he's not going to win championships. Like, if he played great last year and the Yankees beat the Dodgers, a thing opens up where you're like, whoa. I mean, it ain't Ruth, Garrick, Mantle, DiMaggio, but now what's the next four? Is that Berra, Ford, Jeter, Rivera? He probably ain't there yet either, but like, like, for the toughest top 10, top 8 to get into, he do it. And that's the only, like what he's done is he's outdone Mattingly at this point, the great Yankee who never won a championship. He's now better than that. But I don't, like, I asked this question last week. I'd ask you, Ryan. He's a better player. He's a better player. Would you rather have Aaron Judge's career or Bernie Williams?
If I'm being honest, I'd rather have Aaron Judge's career, even though Bernie had all the winning.
Yeah, I'd rather have Bernie's, because it's not only all the winning. I mean, he's a borderline Hall of Fame player.
Yeah.
He was the cleanup hitter or the number 3 hitter in a dynasty. He was a great player. And it's just like, for me personally, I don't know that I could live if I played and didn't win. And again, one of the reasons the Yankees won was Bernie was a great postseason player too. So he has, like, I mean, he had 2 walk-off homers in the postseason in his career, and was like a brilliant player. And it's like, there's no doubt to me, Aaron Judge's accomplishments. Bernie Williams, I don't think was ever even a top 5 MVP guy. If he was, maybe one time. Here we have a guy in Judge who's won 2 MVPs. I think he's been in the top 4 2 other times. Rookie of the year. He's probably going to win another MVP this year, as long as he's standing upright on September 30th. And so the accomplishment's going to be better. But that's what's missing.
Yeah.
Like especially for this franchise.
Yeah.
Like, you could be you could be Ted Williams for the Red Sox and never won. You could be Carl Yastrzemski for the Red Sox and be in their all-time top 4 or 5, whatever thing you want to make, without winning. But if team has won 27 championships, if you're not part of one of these, it's a lot harder argument to get into that tight little group.
Yeah, and it felt like Judge was breaking through even in Game 5 until he dropped that ball, and then they blow that lead, and it's right, because he had the homer, and you're like, okay, maybe he's starting to turn the narrative here. Maybe the worm is starting to turn. He can lead a comeback in the World Series and have that great moment that we're talking about, right? That big Yankees moment in the postseason that Judge so desperately has been trying to get, and just from that center field drop now, I just wonder if the mood has changed in him now. Juan Soto leaves, right? We go get Max Fried. We go get Paul Goldschmidt, Cody Bellinger. We're off to a good start. I am off to an insane start. Now it's the Subway Series. Juan Soto's making his return to the Bronx. I'm out here now to not even prove, but just continue to point to everyone. Don't forget about me. I am still
no one's forgetting about him this year.
All right, good. I just want to make sure we had that clear.
The at-bats are insane, and even hitting 400 for 6 weeks. I'm assuming he's not going to hit 400 this year, though I guess he'll probably turn that into one of those, I told you so things because maybe he will. Because his 400's a real 400. It isn't like he's getting a bunch of infield singles or something like that. And the one thing that helps his batting average is he's going to walk a ton.
Yeah.
And more than ever from here on in, because I have to assume everybody in the Yankee lineup, including him, is going to cool off, right? Goldschmidt can't hold this. Grisham can't hold this. Rice can't hold this. And even Judge, like if Judge hit 365 this year, which is stunning, he'd have to hit Watt the rest of the year to hit 365. 300,
300, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's going to be a come down from where he is now when he's just, he's had 6 weeks that is historic.
Yeah. I mean, Ben Rice is already starting to slow down a little bit. I mean, I think he's batting 210 in his last 7 games. I mean, but like you said, he's on an unreal pace right now. He's an unreal tear for 6 weeks. And it's just going to be, it will come down to the Soto, Judge, but there are so many other supporting players here, Joel, and I want to get up to do up here. And I'm going to give you the difficult task of giving me 3 players that you're keying in on that you think will have immediate or the biggest impact, I should say, in this 3-game set. If you were to take 3 players between the Mets and Yankees, 3 Yankees, and then can you give me 3 Mets as well?
Yeah, I think the 3 Yankees are Rodon, Schmidt, and Fried.
I knew you were going to go for the starters.
Because they clearly did everything. Let's not forget the Yankees lost all 4 games to the Mets last year. And they want to begin to they'll act like, it's just whatever. We know, right? And so they made sure their 3 best were going in this series, and so their 3 best have to pitch like their 3 best. We know the implications of when their 3 best pitch because it has value to the other guys in the rotation that they cover, not only pitch well but cover innings. And in a way, the Mets are doing these are the 3 we're up to, right? Like they didn't make sure that Senga pitched in this series. I would assume they probably made sure that Holmes didn't, just as a way to avoid that if they could be avoided. And so they're going with the 3 who are there, and they're leading the major leagues in it's an interesting matchup in general. The Mets are leading the major leagues in run prevention, and the Yankees are leading the major leagues in runs scored. And they're both showing up as first place teams. And so a lot of this is going to be, can the Yankee offense break through against this pitching staff? But also, because the Mets are just throwing their 3 over here and the Yankees are throwing their 3 best, I think the Yankees need to have their 3 best outpitch the Mets. That's part of the challenge now. And, Fried has answered every call so far. Now you got to answer the Subway Series call. When he goes to Fenway, he's going to have to answer the Fenway call. This is part of the Yankee world. And so with everything else that's going on, I think there's that.
Okay. Do you have 3 Mets for me?
Well, it's hard to ignore that Soto has to be one of them. Because we're in the on the path between he's had a meh start for Juan Soto and this guy really thrives when the pressure's on. Do we see this weekend? And so I think there's that as part of it. And so on that, I'm curious if Diaz gets a save situation, what that looks like, because I keep thinking a lot has gone right for the Mets early this season, notably the depth of their team, the depth and patience. Again, this is one of those things, I know we won't learn it about being patient, but it was how many people wrote Mark Vientos off before last year? How many people wrote Brett Beatty off before this year? And it looks like they're getting something out of Beatty now. And the Yankees are getting something out of Grisham after he was these are talented players. They have but they're also could fool you for 5-6 weeks. So, that's why consistency matters. I'm curious to see it over the long haul. But a lot has gone right for the Mets. The one thing that has gone badly that I think has implications for the whole season is AJ Minter got hurt. I think AJ Minter combined the two things that were incredibly valuable for the Mets. He was left-handed, and ultimately, if the Mets are going to get where they want to get, you can imagine the Harper Schwarber, Otani, Freeman kind of lineups with multiple lefties, where you're like line up your great lefty against them. The other thing was Minter was unafraid. He had great stuff and he was unafraid. So if Diaz blinked and had a moment where you felt like, hey, we got to either pull him from this spot or give him a little blow here, I thought Minter could go in the ninth and close. So they lost their lefty and their Diaz security blanket. And so that puts a lot more on Diaz. I don't think, I know you could say, well, Ryan Stanek will do it. I think Minter could have done it at a very high level. So I think that's a thing there as well, because I worry about Diaz's consistency a little for them. I think the Mets are going to have to do something very uncomfortable for David Stearns. They're going to have to give up stuff for a good relief pitcher in July. It just doesn't probably fit his worldview of how to do this. This is a guy who traded Josh Hader when his team was in it. He's not the kind of guy who I think wants to give up lots of assets, future assets for as something as flammable as a relief pitcher. When he's like, I don't know, like I added Phil Maton and Ryan Stanek last year for nothing pretty much, and that worked. I'm going to do that again. And I would say he probably will do that again as opposed to doing what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that's an area that I have some thought about. And look, I love watching Francisco Lindor play baseball. I feel like Francisco Lindor playing baseball is like watching a great point guard. He just fills up the stat sheet with lots of good stuff. He makes not only terrific plays in the field, but he makes timely plays in the field. He could hit for power. He plays, I talked to him where I went up to him after he did it. There was a game about 10 days ago, and I just went up to him in the clubhouse and I said, I appreciated that. And he smiled and knew what I meant, which was the Mets were winning a game like 6-1 or 7-1. And he beat out an infield grounder. Like he ran hard on an infield ball in a 6-1 game in the bottom of the eighth. And he just treated it like this is what you're supposed to do. Stole a base and scored on Soto's single. And it just added an extra run, at a time where the Mets are overusing your bullpen. Hey, you know what that extra run does? Instead of being 6-1, becoming 6-3, and you got to get your closer up if a guy hits a 2-run homer. You have a little more. This is like, don't stop scoring. Don't stop trying. Don't stop. And I just think he's that kind of like high IQ, heady player. I could, there's times I'm at Citi Field, Ryan, and I watch Francisco Lindor play baseball. Like I'm really watching him play baseball, how engaged he is, how he's talking to the other players, how he talks to the pitcher. When there's a meeting on the mound, he's not just a bystander. I like watching Francisco Lindor play baseball.
Yeah, I mean it's a good three you picked, Francisco Lindor. He likes to hit against the Yankees too. It just feels like, especially last
Another
year,
guy not afraid of the moment.
No,
right? Like he's shown that it's really, you're talking about a rise in New York from where it was that first year, and where it is now, where he's so clearly comfortable in skin, kind of the unofficial captain of the team. It's he's really, really a good baseball player. Really good baseball player. I mean, I'm stating the obvious, but if you really watch him play and appreciate not just that he's going to hit a lot of homers and he could steal a base, and you just watch him play baseball, he's like all the things I like about baseball, he does.
It's understandable. He's a fun player to watch, man. I just really quick for me, I'm looking at that Rodon start. This is a big one. I know he's having like a pretty good year so far. He's handled a lot of the pressure in the big moments, and he's responded well and tried to pitch, I think, out of a lot of big situations and or pitched in big situations and gotten out of a lot of trouble. I wonder how he's going to do here against the Mets here. Does he Does he handle the pressure well? Because a lot of fans are going to be on him if he gets into trouble early. And the other guys I'm looking at has to be Anthony Volpe. Can you help out? Keep doing what you're doing. And David Peterson, lefty, against this Yankees lineup. How do the Yankees handle him? He's been pretty good, and he's been pretty
Yeah.
good since last year. So I'd
It's
be
an
interested.
intriguing series. I think there's, look, it's a long year and you look for reasons to be excited at the ballpark. Again, first place teams, they're both good on both sides of the ball. You could imagine that this season ends with them playing against each other in October. It's not like at this time last year, that would have been outrageous. Even though the Mets got to the NLCS, they were going through an historically terrible May where you're like, well, who are they trading off of this team in July? That's where we were at this time last year with the Mets. Think about those 12 months. It's possible to watch these two teams play and say, I'll watch it. Now, of course, the Dodgers are going to have a lot to say about this. The Padres, the Phillies, the Tigers, who knows who else. I still think Boston has a shot to be a pretty good team this year. Mets are in an interesting little period, right? Because they're playing the Yankees, then Boston, then the Dodgers. So they're going to Fenway. And then they come home for the Dodgers. Yeah, a little really tough period for them. And I'm curious how they're going to handle it, right? The Braves have started to play a little better. Acuna's on a rehab. Strider's on a rehab. They're just about to probably get their arguably best starter and best player back. So I think they'll be heard from. The Phillies are good. So I don't know. I think baseball in New York is great right now. And the fact that they're playing against each other just makes it better. I just wish it wasn't on the same weekend of Nick playoff games. Well, or that the playoff games were just a different time than the baseball games, because I look, I'm born and raised here, I live here, I'm not moving from here. I'm going to die on this island here that I live on. So I'm a New Yorker. I love this city, and so I love big events. Like I had with a player not to be named. I had a little thing a couple of years ago with a player who complained at Citi Field about the amount of traffic because the U.S. Open and a Met game were being played at the same time. And I was not abashed at explaining this isn't the bad news. This is the good news, that we're going to have about 65, 70,000 people in this area who really want to be here. And that this is a great day in New York, not a horseshit day because we couldn't put you on a lily pad and get you here fast enough. Like, leave earlier. What can I say? This is a great goddamn city. Like, this is one of the reasons why it's great. We have events like this. That you go play in Tacoma if you want easier traffic. What can I tell you? Like, so I just wish it was great New York days. Like I'm chauvinistic about my city, and I like the great days. And it bothers me that it's going. It bothers me. It's pestering that they're going on at the same time. At least tomorrow, if not tomorrow and Sunday.
Yeah, let's hope the Knicks close it out tomorrow night, though, and that way Sunday can just be the sole focus of Sunday Night Baseball. Fried versus Peterson, Yankees Mets, maybe it's a rubber match.
When would the Eastern Finals start then? They wouldn't start Sunday?
No, they wouldn't start Sunday because I know if the Knicks had closed it out last night, Game 1 would have been Monday night. I know that for a fact. So it's not going to start until next week either way. But it's a great time. It's a great time to be both a sports fan in New York, and if you're a big baseball fan, again, we cannot talk about this enough. This Yankees Mets Subway Series, the first of the two series. I have a
feeling early next week we're going to talk about it some more.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Joel, let's bring this all home for Joel's notebook. I think last year I asked you about this, your most memorable moment. You talked about the doubleheader these two played from Shea Stadium to Yankee Stadium, and 2 games in one day. But is there a name that comes to mind for you? Maybe a lot of people wouldn't think about this name when they think about Subway Series, but when you think about Subway Series, this name comes to mind.
Every once in a while, I throw a name at you and say, does this name mean anything to you? Does the name Steve Beazer mean anything to you?
Nope.
No. All right. So it was 1997, so like about June, July, whenever the Mets and Yankees play. So Subway Series is fresh. We haven't played these, this is a relatively new thing. Yankees are kings of the world. 97, they won the championship in 96. The Mets are struggling. Uh, but they're starting to play a little bit like their manager, who's Bobby Valentine. So they are annoying. That's how they play. They play annoying, and Bobby is annoying. And Joe Torre and Valentine have some not great history going back to the Mets, right? So they don't really like each other. And Bobby V wants to do under the Wilpons what Cohn's doing now, which is he wants to take the Yankees. He wants to build something that's that. And the Yankees are winning like 2-1. It's like the sixth or seventh inning. David Cohn is pitching great. And I'm going to go ahead and say that Matt Franco got a hit, like a double or something, and they pinch run Steve Beezer, who maybe played in 50 games in his life, but this was one of them. And he gets to third base, and he's doing in what was against the baseball code in 1997. But if you watch, Francisco Lindor does it all the time now, for example, especially when the third baseman is shaded towards shortstop. Beezer is running down against the right-hand pitcher trying to distract him. And sure enough, he got Cone to flinch, and there was a run-scoring balk that tied the game. I think the Yankees ultimately go on to win the game. But Beezer draws a run-scoring balk, and in the clubhouse afterward, even the Yankees winning the game, they were all so they're kind of mad at Beezer. They're calling it a little league play, right? Because again, it was not something that was kind of done then. It was like the gentleman's game. I'm not going to try to draw a balk off of you. And Bobby Valentine was, screw that. Of course I'm going to try to draw a balk off you. We're like not as good as you. We have to figure out other ways to do this. And the Yankees won the game, and they were all cursing Bobby Valentine in the clubhouse afterwards. And it's a strong man. Do I have it right? Like June of 97?
It's June. I have the game pulled up right here. It was June 18th, 1997. It was the rubber match. The Yankees, yep, David Cohn was pitching, and Steve Beiser right here was the pinch runner, scored the run. I'm trying to find the actual video right now because I think I might have found it. I'm trying to find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Steve Beezer.
Beezer,
Yeah.
Steve
Yeah.
Beezer. Okay.
Yeah. And did he even play 50 games in the Met? Like he didn't play a lot. Maybe played that year a little, and next year he was, and he was mainly like a pinch runner. But like for one day, he was like a little Met folk hero for because again, that was the anti-Soto, right? Is like
Right.
David Cohn, who had played with the Mets, is now the ace of the Yankees, and the Met fans are like so mad. And here's our little Steve Beezer getting underneath his skin and drawing a run scoring balk.
I think I might have just found this video. I'm going to send it to
Yeah,
you because this is pretty funny. Actually, they
yeah,
keep cutting back to to Coney. He was not happy, and Steve in the dugout.
yeah, yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Joel, thank you as always for
yeah.
doing this. I know you're looking forward to this. We're looking forward to this as fans. The Juan Soto return is going to have quite the coverage there. I'm sure you'll get to talk to him after the games and see what his reactions are. But as always, man, we appreciate you giving us all your time, and we're looking forward to your coverage over the weekend.
All right, Ryan. Thanks, and thanks everyone for watching, and I hope they enjoy the weekend as well.
You're the man, Joel. Thank you.